Tonight on News at 9, flooding across Sri Lanka. 7 districts flooded while 91 killed and over 53,000 displaced.
First at 9. This is Adadharana 24/7.
Also making headlines tonight, Sri Lanka's Triforces in a massive operation to save the affected people. International support, neighboring India deploys relief to flood-affected Sri Lanka. Manusak Derana television network launches relief and humanitarian effort. And in international headlines, Trump-Russia links, US President's son-in-law Jared Kushner under FBI investigation. Good evening, Mahesh Johnny with Adadharana 24/7. Tonight we begin with the flood situation. 91 lives were lost and 110 remaining missing as a result of the weather conditions that have caused flooding and landslides across the country. Rescue operations are being carried out in many areas with the collaborative efforts of the Triforces, police and the public. Adadharana's Katharina Chang is at the weather centre with the very latest. Katharina.
Thank you, Mahesh. 4 districts in the island were severely affected when 4 major rivers broke their banks, inundating low-lying areas. The government also warned today that the areas in Colombo and Gampaha districts, which were submerged last year, are at a risk of being inundated once again. Our reporters were on the ground and in the air bringing us the latest developments.
Ging River, Nilwala River, Kalu River and Kalani River overflowed today owing to heavy rains which exceeded 150 millimeters in the past 2 days. Aerial footage of Galle, Mathura, Ratnapura and Kalutara districts shows severe flooding. Neluva in Galle and surrounding areas have also been flooded. Uragaha and the entrance of the Mathura Expressway were affected by the floods, as were many areas of Valigama. A reading of 20 feet of water in Tavalama is considered a severe flood situation, and it was reached at around 8 a.m. today. In Badegama, the water meter showed a reading of 4 feet. 17 divisional secretariats in the Galle district and over 7,157 persons from 1,866 families are affected by the floods. Due to the Ging River exceeding its water level, transportation along the Badegama-Udugama road has been completely disrupted. Kianduva on the Galle-Akurasa road were also affected. Due to the continuing rain in the Galle district, fishermen were instructed to avoid going to the sea. The Pittabadara water meter measuring the levels of the Nilwala River exceeded 4 feet, the flooding threshold, and reached 8 feet this morning. Kamburupitiya in Mathura was also hit by the floods due to the Nilwala River breaking its bank. DMC reported that 30 people are missing in Mathura due to the floods. The residence of the State Minister of Finance, Lakshman Yapa Abeyvardhana, was also affected by the floods. 493 people from 119 families are affected in Hambantota. The Millakanda water meter, which measures the levels of the Kalu River, has also exceeded its threshold. The DMC reported that 36 people are affected by the floods in Kalutara. The Medagama-Kalutara main road was disrupted due to the Kalu River breaking its bank. The Gallas and Agalavatta areas were also affected. The outfall of the Kalu River expanded this evening due to the severe flooding. Even though a flooding situation was not reported in the early hours, by 10:30 this morning, the Ratnapura city was completely flooded. With stores in Ratnapura being completely submerged, a mission was carried out to rescue people inside. Reportedly, 128 people in 5 divisional secretariats of Ratnapura are affected. The Ratnapura-Panadura road was submerged while the Ratnapura-Colombo main road was also affected by the floods. Rescue missions were carried out by the Air Force in the Kahavatta area. Our cameras also captured the rescue of a little girl who was stranded by the floods. Meanwhile, the Kalani River also overflowed today. The water levels of Kalani River has risen due to the adverse weather condition across the country. The water meter of Nagalagam Vidya marks a height of 5.5 feet, posing a threat to the whole area. Convening a media briefing, the government instructed the people of Colombo and Gampaha district living near the Kalani River to evacuate from the area. Due to the rising water levels of the Kalani River, the residents near the river were instructed by the police to evacuate from the area. Many areas, including the Kalaniya-Biyagama main road, were submerged by this evening.
Meanwhile, the adverse weather wreaking havoc in the country led to landslides in Gampaha, Kalutara, Galle, Mathura, Ratnapura, Hatton and Nuwara districts. The highest amount of landslides were reported from the Kalutara and Ratnapura districts.
16 persons have died so far due to landslides reported in 8 areas in the country. Kalutara is reported to be the most severely affected. Land of the Kobovilla Hill in the Bulatsinhala area in Kalutara slipped at 3 a.m. today, completely destroying 3 houses. Rescue teams were able to recover 4 bodies by this afternoon. However, the residents in the area were able to rescue 3 other persons and they have now been admitted to the Horna Base Hospital. Rescue missions are still underway for the missing persons in the area. Meanwhile, a landslide occurred in the Baduralia Belana area in Kalutara at 2:30 a.m. Three houses were completely buried under mud and soil, and the bodies of 7 persons have been recovered by rescue efforts.
There were 4 residents in the nearby house. Only the father survived there. There were 5 people living in the house uphill. They all are buried along with the house.
Collaborative rescue efforts by the Tri-Forces, police and residents are underway, as another group of people are also reported to be missing. The district secretariat stated that evacuations in the area are underway and it has been identified as a risk zone. Bodies recovered from the disaster-hit areas such as Bogahawatta and Bulatsinhala in the Kalutara district have been taken to the Pimbura Base Hospital under the supervision of Deputy Minister Palitha Tewara Perumal. Meanwhile, land of the Arambada Hill in Ahaliagoda also slipped this morning, burying 5 houses. 3 bodies have been recovered and search and rescue operations by the Tri-Forces are still underway. Another 3 houses were destroyed as land of the Bopata Hill in Ahaliagoda slipped today. Meanwhile, due to adverse weather in Heyantudua in Sapugaskanda, a wall collapsed onto a house, killing a woman and her daughter. The section between Matagama and Nebada of the Matagama-Kalutara road was closed today due to a landslip which destroyed 2 buses. The National Building Research Organization has advised the public to be cautious of possible landslides at 17 identified locations in Ratnapura, Kegalle, Galle and Kalutara in the next 24 hours.
Also, Mahesh, for information regarding the current situation and rescue and relief effort, the Disaster Management Centre can be reached on their 24-hour hotlines 177 or 011 213 6226, 011 213 6136 and 077 395 7900. To request for boats for relief operations, you can contact the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources on 071 645 3402, 077 465 2278 or 077 341 0575. The Ministry of City Planning and Water Supply has also issued 3 numbers for those who are experiencing water disruption in Mathura, Tangol and Ingiriya. They can be contacted on 077 77 24360, 077 789 1332, 071 453 2222. And once again, for any emergency, and if you are stranded and in need of assistance, you may contact the emergency rescue team on 117. That's it from the Weather Centre for the moment. I will have a full report on the 24-hour weather forecast later on in the bulletin. Mahish, back to you.
President Maithripala Sirisena has issued a directive to all relevant institutions to take immediate relief measures necessary for the affected people without delay. The President also advised obtaining the assistance of Triforce's personnel in the ongoing relief and rescue mission of people stranded and in distress due to the adverse weather situation. In a communique, President Sirisena extended his condolences to the families of the deceased and expressed concern to those affected by the prevalent weather. The government has disbursed funds amounting to 45 million rupees to assist urgent relief efforts across the country. Deputy Minister of Disaster Management Dunesh Gankanda said that the funds were released to local authorities in respective districts to immediately support flood-affected areas. The Deputy Minister was speaking at a media briefing held at the ministry this afternoon.
As a government, we are doing our utmost to take control over this situation. With His Excellency the President and the Prime Minister's directives, we have disbursed a sum of 45 million immediately for urgent relief measures. At the same time, if there are any more measures to be taken urgently, we will be disbursing funds to the local authorities.
Our main task is to rescue and to relieve afterwards the people to the places where the divisional secretariats have organized. From Army, we have deployed 2 divisions that consist of 9 battalions, and from commandos also we have heli-lifted about 40 people to Pahi Angala, because our main effort is at Pahi Angala now. And when it comes to the Navy, they have about 28 of their rescue teams deployed all over these districts where the places are affected. And Air Force, they have deployed 6 helicopters.
We deployed several number of boats to rescue these people in this stranded area. Still there are people stranded in Ratnapura, Kegol and Kaltur district. Still the operations are going on. A lot of search and rescue teams have been deployed in these areas. Still there are a few places that we couldn't reach. Boats cannot reach where between the lands cutting failures have blocked the roads. So the Navy boats cannot reach this place. The boats have been deployed through trucks.
We will see the Kalaniganga river, Nagaram Street and Hangwell is below the major flood level. That means this level, about 7 areas go under water. Areas are Ginganga is critical level. Worst condition in the Ginganga and Nilvalaganga. Then now all the pump stations are stopped. Kaluganga also worse than Kalani.
We have issued the evacuation early warning. This is evacuation, not the alert. So we advise the people who live in the high-risk slopes and also live in the big retaining walls should be evacuated from this location until the weather situation becomes calm.
Rain should reduce. Now 28th, the day after tomorrow, it will reduce more. And then after that, 29th and 30th, we have to expect more rain again.
Let's move on with the other stories we have for you tonight. Minister of Home Affairs Vajra Begunamardhan announces that all administrative examinations that were due to be held tomorrow are cancelled. He said this in a media briefing that was held following a discussion with district secretariats, chiefs of the Triforces and ministry secretaries.
I would like to request people in districts identified to be affected by floods to reach the highest points in their areas. Although we have cancelled all leave for government officials, those in the affected areas are hit by the situation. Therefore, cancellation of leave is not relevant to them. The administrative examination that was due to be held tomorrow is also cancelled. I would like to request all mobile operators to not disconnect phone lines that have outstanding bill payments. In the meantime, we have requested the entire fishing community to hand over their boats to the nearest police station so the Air Force could take the boats and distribute them by air. The first 72 hours since the disaster is focused on saving the lives of people stranded.
Considering the prevailing disaster situation, parliamentary proceedings were suspended at 2 p.m. today. Deputy Speaker Thilanga Sumutipala informed Parliament of the decision as proceedings commenced following a special party leaders meeting. A sudden party leaders meeting was called to discuss the disaster situation in the country.
අපේ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ කැලණි මිටියාවතේ කැලණිගඟ ගම්වතුර යාම පිළිබඳ ප්‍රශ්නය විසඳන්න ඔබතුමාගේ නායකත්වයෙන් හරි කමක් නැහැ. මේ හදිසි තත්වයට කැඳවන්න මොකද ලබුගම වක්කොය කලටුවාව මේ කොළොන්නාව මේ ප්‍රදේශවල දිගටම මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ
මම මේ මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ට කියලා මෙහි කතා කර කර ඉන්නේ නැතුව ගමට ගිහලා වැඩ කරන්න කියලා. මේ කතා කර කර ඉන්නේ නැතුව බෝට්ටුවකට ගලේ යන්න.
තව ගම්පිටින් වතුරට ගහලා ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා තාම දන්නේ නැහැ ආපදා කළමනාකරණ ඇමතිතුමා රටේ නැහැ කියලා. ආපදා කළමනාකරණ ආයතනය ක්‍රියාවීතව ඉන්න බෑ. මම ආරුගාරු අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමාට අද උදේ පාන්දර මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ හිටපු ජනාධිපතිතුමාගෙන් කතා කිරීමෙන් පස්සේ මම එතුමාගේ උපදේශපත අගමැතිතුමාට කතා කරා. මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ අපි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ගන්න වෙනවා. අපි නොසිතපු ප්‍රමාණයකට රත්නපුර යට වෙලා.
අවශ්‍ය සියල්ලම කරන්න කියලා ගරු අගමැතිතුමා උපදෙස් දීලා තියෙනවා. දැන් මෙතුමා කිව්වා උදේ අගමැතිතුමාට කතා කරුවා කියලා අගමැතිතුමා උපදෙස් දීලා තියෙනවා.
මොරවක නගරේ අඩි 15කට වඩා උස ජල මට්ටමක් තියෙන. මාකදුර වැනි ප්‍රදේශවල 500ක් 1000කට වැඩිය වහල් උඩ ඉන්න. මේ තුමන්ලා ඉල්ලන්නේ හදිසියේ ගුවන් යාන මේ හෙලිකොප්ටර්ස් නැතුව අද උදේ වෙනකන් බෝටු නැතුව හිටියා. ජනතුමා රටේ නැති වෙලාවක ගරු අගමැතිතුමා රටින් බැහැර වෙන්න තව පැය කිහිපයකින් හදන වෙලාවක ආපදා කළමනාකාර ඇමතිතුමා රටේ නැති වෙලාවක ඉතා වගකීමෙන් මේක බරපතල තත්ත්වයක්.
You can call for a meeting. අපි අවශ්‍ය පියවර ගන්නවා ගරු නියෝජ්‍ය කතානායකතුමනි අවශ්‍ය පියවර ගන්නවා.
Also, in one of our headline stories, in light of the crisis situation, India has dispatched a shipment of relief supplies. Necessary relief material to supporting ongoing efforts in Sri Lanka were dispatched as an immediate response to a request by the government of Sri Lanka. A spokesperson from the Indian High Commission in Colombo said the supplies will reach Sri Lanka tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. A second shipment of more disaster relief supplies is due to arrive in the island on Sunday. The Manusat Derana relief and humanitarian effort was launched once again to assist those who have been left destitute due to floods and landslides. We would like to invite you, our viewers, to donate dry rations such as rice, milk powder, tea leaves, dal, canned fish, soya meat, sugar and water at our head office located at 320 TB Jama of the Colombo 10 or Idea Hell at 45/6 Alvis Place, Colombo 3. For further details, you may also reach us on 0115 300 700 or 0115 300 800 or 0115 677 111. Those numbers once again 0115 300 700, 0115 300 800 and 0115 677 111. Welcome back, everyone. Muslims in Sri Lanka begin fasting for the holy month of Ramadan at dawn tomorrow as the new moon has been sighted. Islam's holy month of fasting and prayer will end with the Eid al-Fitr on the 24th of June. Once again, that story, Muslims in Sri Lanka begins fasting for the holy month of Ramadan at dawn tomorrow as the new moon has been sighted. Islam's holy month of fasting and prayers will end with the Eid al-Fitr on the 24th of June. Let's move on to other stories we have for you tonight. President Maithripala Sirisena, in his third day of a state visit to Australia, requested Sri Lankans around the world not to be deceived by fallacies spread by those who want to restore the previous regime. The president made the remark addressing members of Sri Lankan community in Sydney last night.
Wrapping up his state visit to Australia, President Maithripala Sirisena met the Sri Lankan community in Sydney yesterday. President Sirisena was welcomed by the Sri Lankan community in Sydney, which includes professionals, university students and members of the business community.
I add websites and Facebook to the list of media that the society enjoys, along with newspapers and television with freedom and democracy. I believe that all of these are for intelligent and educated people in society. But all we observe are insults and contempt. Those who are in power need power once again. You know that I'm a president who handed over executive powers I had to the parliament. Do you know that Sri Lanka does not have any enemy in the world? During the last 2.5 years, I engaged in state visits around the world upon the requests of those countries, not mine. When I return from the countries I visit, I bring a number of gifts to the people in my country.
Today, President Maithripala Sirisena visited the Australian Nuclear Science and Technology Organisation. He engaged in a tour to inspect advanced research on utilization of nuclear science for disease diagnosis and medication. The ANSTO provides nuclear technology-based medicine to cancer patients in many countries, and its research has led to many effective nuclear technology-based treatments for diseases such as thyroid cancer, prostate cancer, and liver cancer. Scientists attached to the center told the president that the ANSTO could use nuclear technology to test groundwater for possible harmful minerals due to the use of pesticides and suggest possible cancer treatment. Yesterday, Sri Lanka's High Commissioner to Australia, Somasundaram Skandakumar, and the CEO of ANSTO, Dr. Adrian Peterson, signed an MOU that will see Australia provide new insights into the disease. The signing took place at Australian Parliament House in Canberra and was attended by Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena and Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull.
Let's move on to business news now. Sri Lanka will launch the newly established private-public partnership during the upcoming Sri Lanka Investment and Business Conclave 2017, which takes place from the 30th of May to the 1st of June. Set up through a cabinet decision, the private-public partnership unit is mandated to source investment from both the national and international private sector to drive the country's economic agenda. The Ceylon Chamber of Commerce says the launch of the PPP unit at the Sri Lanka Investment and Business Conclave will be witnessed by over 200 investors and business partners. The new unit, supported and guided by the World Bank, will fall under the purview of the Ministry of Finance. Into international business news, the price of oil fell by about 5% despite oil-producing nations agreeing to extend production cuts for a further 9 months. Meeting in Vienna, energy ministers from both OPEC and non-OPEC countries agreed to maintain output curbs due to expire next month until March 2018. But investors had been hoping that oil producers would go further. Brent crude fell $2.60 to $51.36 a barrel yesterday and was trading at $51.47 today. Saudi Arabia's energy minister Khalid Al-Fayed who co-chaired the meeting with his Russian counterpart Alexander Novak, said they considered various scenarios from 6 to 9 to 12 months and even consider options for higher cuts. On to Sri Lankan stocks now. The ASPI reached an intraday high of 6,716 at the beginning of trade today, but experienced a steady decrease with some volatility to close the day at an intraday low of 6,698, losing 17 points. Turnover decreased while volumes showed a significant increase with low foreign participation, leading to a net foreign inflow to the market. Price decrease across 83 counters led by JKH and NIFL surpassed the effective or positive contribution made by 67 counters led by LOLC and Browns. For more details, we have Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
The benchmark all-share price index lost 17.09 points to close at 6,697.86. The S&P Sri Lanka 20 index lost 18.22 points to close at 3,828.59. Turnover was 237.4 million rupees with 19.9 million shares changed in hands. Foreign purchases were 25.45 million rupees and foreign sales were 10.17 million rupees.
On to sports now. Cleveland Cavaliers forward LeBron James is now the leading scorer in NBA playoff history, overtaking the mark set by baseball legend Michael Jordan. James needed 28 points in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Final to surpass Jordan's 5,987 points and finish the game with 35 to bring his tally to 5,995. The 32-year-old, seeking his fourth NBA title, took 212 postseason games to overtake Jordan, who won the NBA title 6 times and played 179 playoff games. Formula One leader Sebastian Vettel has made an early retirement of intent in the build-up to Sunday's Monaco Grand Prix by recording the fastest ever lap around the circuit in yesterday's practice.
Four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel topped the timesheet with a best effort of 1 minute 12.720 seconds in the afternoon and is hoping to give Ferrari a first win in Monaco since 2001. The German was the only driver to break the 1 minute 13 seconds barrier. His title rival Lewis Hamilton, who is 6 points behind after 5 races, was fastest before lunch, but finished 8th in the afternoon session with a time of 1 minute 13.873 seconds.
Moving on to international news now, and making headlines across the world as Donald Trump moves into the tail end of a first foreign trip with meeting of the G7 leaders. U.S. media reports that his son-in-law and advisor Jared Kushner is under FBI scrutiny as part of the investigation into links between Russia and the Trump election campaign. Reports say that investigators believe that he has relevant information, but he is not currently suspected of a crime.
The Washington Post reported that investigators are focusing on meetings Jared Kushner held last year with Russian ambassador to the United States, Sergei Kislyak. The FBI probe is also investigating the multiple roles of Kushner in the Trump campaign, his relationship with dismissed U.S. National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, and the campaign's data analytics operation, which he oversaw. The FBI has collected data on computer programs allegedly linked to Russia that help push negative information on Hillary Clinton through social media. Officials are examining whether Russia used people associated with the campaign, wittingly or unwittingly, to try and help Russia's own data targeting.
Well, let's once again cross over to Adhirana's Weather Center, where Katharina Chang is there with tomorrow's weather forecast. Katharina?
Thank you, Mahesh. Now, with the southwest monsoon bringing heavy showers to the southern and Sabragama provinces in the past 24 hours, we can expect a similar situation tomorrow as well. Now, heavy rains will continue in the Ratnapura, Kegaul, Mathura and Colombo districts. More than 150 millimeters of rain can be expected in several areas of the island in the next 24 hours. Temperatures may vary between 26 and 31 degrees Celsius in major cities. Let's now take a look at the city-wide city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Adhirana 24/7. Adhirana News at 9 will return tomorrow with Hindi Variya Muatta. Be sure to join us then. I'm Mahesh Johnny. But before we go, we like to leave you with visuals of Munneshwaram Kovil in Chilau, an important regional Hindu temple complex in Sri Lanka. It has been in existence at least since 1000 AD, although myths surrounding the temple associate it with the popular Indian epic Ramayana. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Adhirana 24/7.